Well, for me, like, honestly, like, truth just is the pathway forward for me. Like, I often say, like, truth is our most powerful currency. Because for me, it's like anything I choose, if I know it's connected to my truth, I can trust that God's conspiring in my favor because I'm conspiring in my favor.
Welcome to the Prosperity Playground, the podcast where business meets energetics, strategy meets soul, and prosperity becomes inevitable. I'm your host, Anna Lozano, mom, founder, investor, mentor, and energetics in business expert. This is your weekly activation to rewire how you think and feel about wealth, success, and personal power, because it's not about working harder, it's about regulating deeper, aligning stronger, and receiving wider. You don't hustle for your future, you calibrate to your higher self. Join me weekly for high-level conversations with the world's most inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and thought leaders. True prosperity isn't just about money. It's about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth. Welcome to the playground. Let's build your most prosperous life. Welcome back to the Prosperity Playground podcast. Today's conversation is one of those episodes that doesn't just land, it activates. It invites you into deeper truth, deeper trust, and a whole new level of self-leadership. I'm sitting down with Jaclyn Shaw, someone I've known for over a decade. We met back in our Toronto days. We reconnected a couple years ago in a mentorship space with Neil Donald Walsh, most recently connected in real life at our friend Samantha Skelly's event in San Diego. And now we're here. And what I love most about this conversation is that we don't just talk about the highlight reel. We dive deep into resistance, identity, truth, and what it actually takes to lead without a blueprint. I'm grateful to introduce you to Jaclyn Shaw, who's a powerful voice for women who are ready to reclaim who they are as divine beings. When Jaclyn speaks, women listen, her conviction commands attention, and her wisdom resonates at a soul level. Her trust in self and trust in God is undeniably felt. Through her words, her presence, her embodied teachings, and lived wisdom, women tap into the divine remembrance of who they are. They feel the resonance of truth deep in their souls, and it becomes the catalyst for their own personal transformation. In Jaclyn's world, it's not about becoming, but returning to your divine nature and the sacred wisdom that lives within all of us. In this episode, we go there. We talk about what it actually means to choose truth over trend, even when it's uncomfortable. We talk about the identity shift from I'm not a writer to writing a book in 3 weeks. We talk about conviction as your strategy and why your truth is the most powerful currency you have. And maybe most importantly, this is a reminder that the things you feel called to, the truth you feel rising within you is not random. It's not coincidence. It's all divine synchronicity, and it's someone else's answered prayer. This episode is our permission slip. So let's dive in. All right, Ms. Jaclyn Shaw, welcome to the Prosperity Playground podcast. I am so grateful you're here.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be here. I feel like this conversation has been a long time coming, and so for us to get to dive in today feels so good.
Oh my gosh, so good. So you and I met probably 2010 when you had your boutique in Yorkville, which feels like lifetimes ago. And then we reconnected about 2 years ago during Neil Donald Walsh's mentorship program, where you declared that you're going to write your book, which I'm holding right here for anyone watching the video, which was so powerful because I remember your declaration. It was so bold. It was like, this is happening. And here we are. Now you're writing your second and your third book. And so I'm just so excited to really dive in with you on all the things. I'd love to start with you just diving in and telling us, like, when did you know that this was your next step? You're going to write a book. You're going to share your truth. You're going to share your story. When did this drop in? And then I know it took some time to actually pen to paper, bring it to life. So I'd love the backstory.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying, when I boldly declared that on that call, which was pretty much a year ago, like it was last April,
Was
but it
it?
was a long, it was.
Holy shit. Okay. I felt like
Sorry, two Aprils ago,
two
two
Aprils.
Aprils ago,
Okay. That's right. That's
two
right.
Aprils ago. So it was 2 years ago, but prior to that, it was a long time coming. Like it was really 10 years in the making. This spiritual smackdown, I mean, this is an experience. It's a personal memoir, it's a spiritual memoir, and it's an experience that I had when I was pregnant with my daughter, who's about to turn 10. And I knew, honestly, I was going to write the book when she was 3 weeks old. There was a moment that I remember so clearly sitting in the park, knew I was going to write the book, and yet didn't start writing it until, well, I was going to say 2 years ago, but to be honest, you heard me boldly say that 2 years ago. I also talked about how I had so much resistance,
Yes.
which I'd love to share about the why, because people think my resistance is very different to what it was. But I had so much resistance that even after that call of boldly declaring that and the conversation that we had, I still had resistance. I dabbled in picking up the pen in the fall, like wrote a few things like out in the woods behind my house. And when I was like really connected and rooted in nature, I just like stream of conscious, like wrote some things, but I didn't really fully start writing the book until last January.
Wow.
And so even though we had that conversation in April, it was last January, and it ended up taking me about 3 weeks to like fully write the book. And why I want to highlight that this is so important in this conversation is that the resistance that I had felt for so long wasn't because of the story itself, like wasn't because it's a very personal story. It's a story that brings up a lot, but my resistance wasn't around that. It wasn't around judgment of others. It was really that I didn't identify as a writer. I had told myself for years, like, I love podcasting. I have had a podcast for, I think, 7 or 8 years. I've had 3 different podcasts, like put a mic in front of me and let's go. Like, you might not get a chance to talk today is what I'm trying to say here. But to actually write, like pen in hand on paper, I was like, I'm not a writer.
Wow.
And it wasn't even this like, who do I think I am to write this? It was like, you're just not a writer. Like, hire someone to write this, get a ghostwriter. It was like, you're not a writer. So like, why would you even attempt to write this was really kind of how I felt. But then anytime I had the idea of actually hiring someone, putting this book in someone else's hands, even having an editor edit the book, I was like, nope, 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 nope. Like, this is your story and it needs to be written by you. And so it took me until January of last year to decide, like, I am a writer. And now, like you said, I'm writing a second book, a third book. There's already a fourth and a fifth that I know is going to come. And so it went from, you're not a writer to like, you are really going to write a lot of books. And it was that quick shift for me of like, through our work together too, it's like books, stages is really like the calling
Visibility. For me. I'd love to unpack a couple of things. One is, so this identity of author, of writer. So did you identify or pinpoint where this belief came from? Or is it like, why were you holding that? I'm curious.
Honestly, like, I've just never been a writer. Like, I'm not even someone who, and people are like, oh my gosh, like you're like this spiritual person and you don't love to journal. But like, I've never really loved to write. Like, there's definitely, I've had the story and the journey when I first started like coming online as a mentor and a coach. I used social media, like Instagram as my platform. Yes. And in the beginning, I just like, I wrote and I shared things and then, got told by different people and voices in the online world and some actual people, like business partners and mentors that were like, you write wrong. Oh, and so I actually had, when I thought that I was going to write the book forever ago. So it was 2016 was the spiritual smackdown. 2017, when my daughter was 4 months old, I was at a Tony Robbins business event and I met a publisher there who's like, I'm going to help you like write this book and like get it in the world. And I wrote the first chapter and sent it to him and he didn't like my writing. He was like my writing's very, I would say, unique in the sense like it's not poetic. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like, it's blunt at times, and it's very like to the point. And he was like, you need to bring people in like softer, and you need to build this, and you need to do this. And so I was like, well, that's not the way I write. And so I don't know how to, you know what I mean? It was just like, well, that's not the way I write. But then it was like a year ago where I was like owned, like the way that I write is the way that this book wants to be written. And so it was more really like owning my truth, my voice, and this is what I stand for in my work. So of course it happened this way. It's like, do it your way, not anyone else's way, because your way is the way for you. And yes, I'm sure someone could have wrote this book with more beauty and poetry and more like, because a lot of people wanted me to write this and be like, really bring us into the moment, give us more details, tell us about the butterfly that flew by you while you had this thought. And I'm like, that's just not
what
me.
happened, and it's not me. And you know what? And this is what I love about you is you're really embodied and authentic in your truth and your voice. And I just feel this decision in itself of saying, I'm going to do it my way. And we've had the behind the scenes conversation about choosing publishers as well, is like it's your truth and your message. And that in itself is a very powerful belief system that's going to inspire so many people around you and create that ripple effect. Because I had a similar story where I'm like, I'm not a podcast host. I love responding. I love being on podcasts. And it took me years to launch the show. But when I knew, I knew. And I think that's the second part that I'd love to dive into is like when you ultimately decided, I remember you telling me like you wrote this thing in 3 weeks. I was like, that is like, we're looking at right here, like almost 300 pages of wisdom streaming through you. And it took that decision for it to channel and stream through you in such a short amount of time. So take us a little bit through that process. It's like when you know, and then what happened? Like, how did the process unveil?
Well, it was fascinating because I was actually on a deadline to write it in that time. And usually I'm not great with deadlines because I feel like, oh, then it's like forced and then I've got to sit there and I've got to think and I've got to figure it out. But I actually decided that I wasn't going to like write the book how I would think that you write a book. And so while the majority of it was written and really like put together, and I'll tell you why it feels like put together in 3 weeks, there was, like I said, there was some of the, what I would call more of like the wisdom chapters that I had written in the fall, like sitting out in the woods when I was like so tuned in and connected. But what I did is I just like wrote, I lived part-time in Costa Rica, as you know. And so I was like out there in the jungle and I was just like, had my little like coon, my little cave that I just would go in and I handwrite everything at first. And so I just sat there and like each day was honestly like, just write whatever's moving through. And Neil actually gave me a tip that like might seem so small, but it was like the best tip ever. He was like, don't finish your writing at the end of the day, at the end of a chapter, the end of a paragraph, even the end of a sentence, like finish it in the middle. And my first thought was like, well, then I'm going to like lose that thought or lose the idea. But what happened was like the next day it was so easy to pick up because I just continued writing. It wasn't like, ooh, now what are you going to write about today? It's like, well, you still got to finish that sentence, that paragraph, that chapter from yesterday. And for me, it wasn't actually a chapter because I didn't write in order of the book. What I did, and this is like the most fun thing to be honest, is that I wrote everything by hand. Then I transcribed it to the computer, but none of it was in order. So then I printed everything off and literally it looked like an art project in my bedroom. It was like I cut all of the pieces and cut and pasted everything. I was like, okay, this is going to go first, then this is going second, like numbered all the pages. Like it was a chaotic, beautiful disaster that then turned into this book.
Oh, that then turned into a masterpiece. I love it so much. Let's hit pause for just a moment because if you run a small business, whether you are a shop owner or a brand, I want to make sure that you know about FAIR. FAIR is the largest wholesale marketplace connecting over hundreds of thousands of brands and retailers. And here's why it matters. If you own a shop, you know how hard it is to find unique products and the countless hours that go into sourcing. FAIR makes it easy to stock your shelves with items your customers will not find in big box stores. stores, and it lets you sell that stock before you even have to pay, thanks to their 60-day payment terms. And if you're a brand, you know how much time and energy it takes to get your products into new retailers. Fair changes that. Imagine your products being discovered by retailers around the world. No endless cold pitching, no sales reps, no knocking on doors, just retail shops finding you and reordering again and again. I truly love companies that create a true win-win in business, and that is exactly what FAIR does, giving brands the visibility that they need while supporting retailers with their cash flow. It makes growth possible for both sides of the table. So whether you're looking for fresh products to stock or ready to get your brand into more stores, check out FAIR. It's where small businesses grow together. And as a little bonus, if you are a retailer and haven't made an order through FAIR before, you can use code PROSPERITY10 for 10% off your first order. All right, let's get back to this episode.
And I think this is that permission granted of you get to do it your way. And yes, people, mentors, publishers, authors, ghostwriters, they're going to tell you otherwise. But when you have that message within you and you have your own creative process, follow it, because that's what's going to make it uniquely yours. And so the thing that you really stand for is truth. And we talk about like truth versus trend and what's, we see the highlight reels. We live in a really highlight reel society. Talk to us about like that embodied truth and how that actually then becomes a strategy for visibility, for creating lasting brands and businesses, because it really is a powerful and unique approach in the time we're living in today, where we're surrounded by fake and AI and everything moving so fast. But ultimately, your truth is going to stand the test of time. So take us through that.
Yeah. Well, for me, like, honestly, like, truth just is the pathway forward for me. Like, I often say, like, truth is our most powerful currency, because for me, it's like anything I choose, if I know it's connected to my truth, I can trust that God's conspiring in my favor because I'm conspiring in my favor. If I'm willing to betray myself, then it feels like, well, like, who knows? Like, that feels like that's like the riskiest move, because I can't trust things unfolding like in like the divine magic that they get to unfold if I'm also controlling things, if I'm saying yes to things that don't feel like a yes for me, if I'm choosing things based on, well, this could get me ahead or this could get me this. And to be honest, I mean, the book and my second book, like, to be honest, are such incredible examples of this. I mean, I talk about this in the afterword of the book, and we won't get into the full story here, but like, I was told that the book was too shameful to be published, and I didn't listen. Even in choosing the publisher, so I've worked with two different publishers right now. And so with my second book, I'm working with a traditional publisher. With my first book, I worked with a woman who's trademarked hybrid publishing, and both of these experiences have been so incredible. But the fascinating thing is the publisher I'm working with now, I originally connected with her over Spiritual Smackdown. And she said to me, she's like, I loved like your vision for your second book and your third book. And she's like, and your first book, she's like, I just want to be really clear with you. Like, the way that this works is like, if I want to, take away chapters 13, 42 and 5, like, they can just be cut out of the book. Or if I want to take chapter 77 and put it in chapter 20, I really have full creative control. I get to design the cover. Like, are you okay with that? And this was, a publishing deal that's like your books, like going into like physical bookstores. It's more than Amazon. There's a huge distribution channel. Like, it's going to reach more people if I choose that. That's just guaranteed. Yeah. And I said no, because I really, for this book, was like, I'm not willing. Like, when we went through the editing process, like, I approved if there was like a period change, if there was like, oh, this sentence like goes in this paragraph. Like, it was really important to me for this book, for people to receive it in the way that it really moved through me. And I was like, I don't want it changed. I don't want it edited. Like, this was such a personal story for me. It's about my family. So that was very clear. But I was like, my second book, let's do it together. And so the first book, I really chose truth, even though, you know, having the traditional publisher is, you know, the choice I thought I was going to make, to be honest. And then now that I've worked with her, because we literally today just finished the editing process of my second book. So it's completely edited. It's getting like sent off. The first round of edits and the first editor I was working with through this new publishing company, the first editor and I like didn't really jive. I'm just going to say, like, she didn't, I mean, like I said, I'm blunt. I drop in deep. Her feedback in many places in the book where it's literally like, this makes me uncomfortable. Change these words. You can't say this. You can't say it like this. This is going to, you know, repel people. This is like, so really, you know, in this place. And I called the publisher and I was like, I'm not willing. I'm not willing to make like changes like this. Like, my work is not based in gentle spirituality. Like, it is deep. It is uncomfortable. It is confronting. That's what makes my work so powerful. And she also gave suggestions of like, well, this is like, when you soften here, it'll reach more people. It'll be a bestseller. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care for it to be a bestseller if it compromises my truth, my integrity, my words. I don't want people to read my books and feel like, oh, I've read this book before, so I've got to stand in this. And my publisher, so who had already told me like, if we want to make changes, we can, she completely had my back.
Wow.
She completely, like, she read it herself and she's like, nope, like, I do not want you to change this either. She's like, we're going to get you a new editor. And there's been very little changes to that book. I did let, you know, the commas and the periods, I didn't micromanage it. I let some things like that. But it was also just like a really powerful experience because, again, just even to show, I mean, my voice standing deeper in my truth has evolved with writing these books too. And so when I first met with this publisher, I didn't have the confidence to be like, I mean, I had the confidence to say, I'm not going to publish with you because I don't want this book changed, but I wouldn't have had the confidence if an editor was like that, like I would have, you know what I mean? And so the fact that I had that conversation with her and then she met me there, she's like, yeah, actually, I don't want it changed either, is just such a testament. I feel like what happens and like how people can respond to you when you really stand firm in your truth, in your power, in your conviction, and express it. Like, I expressed it in a way to her that was just like, this is why this is so important. Not in a, I mean, to be honest, like prior versions of me would have shared it in a like FU energy.
Yes, totally. And that shows growth and your own development on this entire journey. And again, it's that permission granted of what happens, like what's the evidence on the other side of standing in your truth, and not the egoic truth, that like deep, devoted knowing and conviction. So I know you've always had a bold personality, but have you, like, was there a moment where you really anchored into your truth and this knowing of like, this is non-negotiable? Was there a specific moment in time that you can reflect back on?
Yep. And yeah, so fascinating because you also knew me like that, like you said, when I had my clothing store. And so before I really entered into like this world of mentorship where it's like bringing forward your voice in a whole different way. And when I first came online, it was like, I was so unapologetic about who I am and my thoughts and my beliefs and what I was here to like lead and teach in. And I truly think it was a gift that, I mean, I feel like I just fell into the coaching industry. Like I didn't know really what was going on. I didn't know there was this like whole industry. I didn't know how it was like supposed to look and work. And so I just showed up doing me, and everything just felt like these like pinch me moments. Like I was building a business with my best friend. We were business partners. We were just like, let's talk about this and let's do this. And our first year in business, like we were like successful. We had a 358K year, our first year in business. And it just all literally felt like pinch me moments. And we were having like conversations and diving deep with women. And it just felt like, oh my gosh, like, yes, please more, please let me do this for the rest of my life. And then the second year, I started to notice I started to listen. I started to follow other people's blueprint. That's when I lost my conviction. I lost my voice. I was like, oh, this is fun what you've done year one, but there's a proper way to do this. There's a proper way to use Instagram and write on Instagram. There's a way that if you do this, you scale. And that second year in business, honestly, like just like my whole energy field, like remembering it is like, I felt so drained. I felt so depleted because I wasn't just being me anymore. And that greatly reflected in our income. We went from having a first year in business at 358K to 128K.
Wow.
And there was somewhere within that, I'd also discovered human design and that I was a 4/6 projector. And I was like, truly, I was just like, fuck this. Like, we are going to do this like my way, like, or our way. Like, I'm going to do my way. My business partner's going to do her way. And was like, I'm only willing to like do things that feel like it's an energetic alignment for me. So it's like the strategy that comes in is because it's energetically aligned and it's because it's amplifying who I already am, not me trying to be someone else. But it was really like, I went through the experience of diluting my voice, of listening to all the noise. And it just felt so off. It felt like I was betraying myself. And I know that that's like a big word to say, but like, that's really what it felt like. I was like, I'm denying my soul. I'm betraying myself. I'm doing these things to like, try to get something that I'm like, do I even want that if it comes with like in this energy, with this sacrifice to myself? And I was like, no, I don't. And so literally burned everything to the ground and was like, let's build from like being who we are. And that next year in business was a 958K year. Wow. So we went from like, this like 358, 128 to 958 by being more of who we are and like speaking the truth and being unapologetic about it.
Wow. And having so much fun doing it. I mean, I loved watching you and Robin, like you girls. And Robin was actually copywriter. She helped me with copy for my website. Like I just absolutely loved watching you together and besties. And, you have such a beautiful relationship and you actually showcased, I can't remember what year I actually saw both of you, but just like how fun it gets to be doing this together and also raising families together. Like it really was such an era of the Jaclyn and Robin show. Like I loved it so much. When did you know that it was time to move on from that business model and that partnership?
Yeah. So in hindsight, I think we both knew it a year before because we had both really felt called to build our personal brands and me really diving more into what I lead in now, like energetics, frequency, like spirituality, like let's talk about God. She really started doing more of her copywriting and branding work. And for that 1 year while we were both building our personal brands, we also were like bringing that into the business that we had together. And so it all felt, good. And then we were running what was now our final retreat together, but we didn't know it at the time in Costa Rica. And as she was driving away, and it made zero sense because like at that retreat, people were like, can we sign up for the next retreat? So we were like, yep, let's like put this in place. Like, of course, we're going to do another one next year because we did it every November. And as she drove away, I literally just had this feeling. I was like, we're complete. Like we're going to go different pathways. And I felt it like in the moment. And I was like, okay, I've got to like tell her how I'm feeling. And she was leaving actually to go on a 3-week vacation in Bali with her family. So I was like, oh, don't tell her right now. Like, this is a big thing. Like you guys have spent years building this together and I mean, it's working. It's working. Like the success keeps growing. You're having so much, like you said, we had so much fun doing it. So it wasn't that anything wasn't working, but it did feel complete. And I was like, I've got to honor that. And there was a bunch that came up around like, is she going to feel like I'm abandoning her and this and that? And ultimately, I first decided I'm going to wait till she gets back from, her vacation with her family, because this is a big conversation. And then I couldn't. Like 2 days later, I was like, I feel so like, and we had said we're going to have business conversations while she's gone. But I was like, I feel so much like that this is happening, that it's like waiting for 3 more weeks. Like, I know how I operate. Like when I'm done, I'm done. So I was like, in 3 weeks, it won't feel like a conversation. It will feel like I've already closed up shop. And so I sent her a message and said like, hey, can we like chat? And she wrote back to me, is this about the completion of Femme?
You're kidding.
And I said yes. And she was, in a completely different time zone. So she's like, do you want to just like leave me some messages in Voxer instead? And I was like, okay. And I did. And my husband came into the bedroom after, and I was like a puddle of tears. And he's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Does she respond? Like, is she mad? And I was like, she hasn't even responded, but I just feel so like in my truth, and I feel so free. And not that I didn't feel free with her, but it's like speaking my truth just created this like opening for me. And she thought she was putting her kids to bed and then was going to come listen to my messages. She fell asleep. I don't know this. So it goes like 12 hours before I hear back from her. And she said, on the plane ride, I said to my husband, I feel complete with them, but I'm going to give it another year so that like, just, I don't like, this is Jack, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just so like, it was just time. Yeah. And then we decided very quickly, this is how it's going to unfold. This is how we're going to serve our clients. And it really gave us the opportunity to end the way that we started. It's like we began this together in like the frequency of love and get to, and it was so fun. And I can see if I wouldn't have shared my truth there, and if we would have worked another year together, I honestly think we probably would have had like a falling out. Like our daughters are best friends. I was just at her house last week. Like we are like still best friends. But if I wouldn't have spoken the truth, I honestly think it could have changed that.
So yeah, this is it. And it goes down to, again, speaking that inner, knowing that truth. Why do you feel women hold back? Like, what is the fear, the belief system? Like, what's happening behind the scenes when women know, like they just deeply know, but they don't do? And then what do you see could be the consequences from not moving in your truth?
Yeah. I think that there's honestly like two main reasons why we don't like speak the truth. One big one is that usually lands us in the field of the unknown. And most women are very scared to not know. And it's like, I mean, when I made that decision and we ultimately ended up making that decision, like we both fully financially support our families. So to just be like, here's a 7-figure a year business that you're just going to like chop off, like that's, scary when you don't have clarity of what's next or, what's coming. And it's like, can I actually like let myself play in the unknown and dance in the unknown? And for me, it's like making decisions like that. I can truly say like the unknown used to be a scary place for me, but now it's like where I feel the most alive. That's where I'm like, oh, that's where I really invite God to meet me. That's where the miracle gets to unfold. That's where you make the quantum leaps because you're not controlling things. You're not figuring out the next step with your mind, but it's like unfolding before you. And so I think women don't speak their truth because they're afraid of the unknown. And then also I'd say the other is like, well, there's maybe a few different things, but afraid of being misunderstood. So misunderstood, judged, and, disappointing other people or other people's reaction. I, in a similar experience right now, have completed in another collaborative venture. And like one of my like biggest things that I had to really look at, like this is my recent work, is like, I do not like to disappoint people. Like I was a rebellious teenager because I would rather my parents be angry at me and yell at me than be disappointed, Yeah. And so like knowing that it's not going to feel good for you to share your truth, knowing that someone's going to be disappointed, knowing that you might be misunderstood, which like I'm in a moment right now where it's also rippled into, community and clients and being misunderstood and being really okay with that. Like, as like, if I choose to hold my truth in this, I'm going to be misunderstood. I'm going to disappoint people. And I've got to be okay with that because the alternative is I betray myself.
Right. So how do you cultivate the peace within in these situations? Because these situations, the energy gets wobbly. All the emotions come through. So how do you maintain your peace? Because we're going to continue humaning, right? We're going to have our human experience and these things will happen. But ultimately, by staying true to self, that is the ultimate responsibility and commitment. However, the situations are going to show up for our greatest expansion. How do you maintain that peace? How do you maintain that neutral, I would say neutral frequency without dipping down when things do arise, like conflict?
Yeah. So I call this sitting in sacred witness of self. Like I sit in sacred witness of myself a lot, which means I'm not, reacting in the moment, responding in the moment, because like, of course I have the human feelings of like pain and heartbreak, and it doesn't have to be that way. And moments that feels like, but I want to show up and defend myself in self-righteousness. But when I sit in sacred witness of myself, it's really like who's the truth of who you are? And can you be the truth of who you are in this moment, which means, not controlling the narrative, which means allowing yourself to be misunderstood, which means like choosing your peace over the like want for like vindication or the want to like, whatever it is. This was the same in spiritual Smackdown for me. It was really like, can I put what I want to experience above what like my human like wants to come in and respond and react to? Because ultimately at the end of the day, no matter what's unfolding around me, it's like, if I know that I'm operating as like the truest version of me, I can trust again. I can trust in the unfolding. I can trust in God conspiring in my favor, because again, like that's part of the work of me conspiring in my favor. But if I'm out there just like the wild woman being like reacting to all of the things that are in my field, I mean, this is where I feel like we get to actually define ourselves in each moment. Like not just, I mean, it's easy to be a woman of God when, everything's going your way.
Yeah,
and it's like, but who am I when it's not?
This is it. Who am I when it's not? 100%. And I think the peace comes from just also the, shit can hit the fan, but when you're in your integrity, when you're in your truth and you can find peace in that, all the dense energy eventually dissipates you come back to the harmony. And it's you need to experience it over and over again to build the trust and conviction, but start playing with it now. I love how you describe it, just sacred witnessing yourself. And we all have stories of when we've reacted versus responding and giving it a moment, how worse things actually unfold. And so we all have those experiences. I'd love to go back to, you said something so powerful, like the unknown for most humans does not feel like safety. And the safety is also an illusion because ultimately we have zero control. And so how do we begin to cultivate, like you can feel the embodiment of your energy when you speak those words? What is a practice that can support you in beginning to feel the safety in the unknown and beginning to really tap into this trust that you are divinely guided in moments of chaos and in moments of peace, but it's like the consistently being guided? Is there a practice that you practice to cultivate this? And it's a thing that's like building a muscle, but I'd love to know what you do behind closed doors.
Yeah. I mean, this feels like it becomes like the circle conversation, but before I get to the circle part, I honestly really break things down into simple ways for myself. And so I'll like have these like statements that really feel powerful to me. It's like core beliefs. I call them belief codes. And I will like repeat this to myself. And so saying to myself, I'm so certain that everything's uncertain. Like that.
Okay.
Such a powerful statement for me, because I'm like, if it's uncertain, because really like we do not know what's going to happen 5 seconds from now. So then I'm like, well, if I'm uncertain, it let me cut off the like past evidence that I have. I'm like, yeah, that's past evidence, but I don't need to bring it into the now. And so if it's uncertain, it's like, why am I trying to control it? Why am I trying to grip it? Why am I trying to predict it? Why am I going into like all the worst case possible scenarios when I could also go into like the best case possible scenarios? And so just really holding the truth with myself. Like if you tell yourself this is what's going to happen next, you're telling yourself a lie and then you're willing to believe it. Like this is not me talking to you. This is literally how I talk to myself.
I love it.
I'm like, are you going to believe the lies that you're telling yourself right now in this moment? And so then I sit in sacred witness and I'm like, no, I'm not going to keep lying to myself. I'm not going to believe the lies I tell myself. And like that opens things for me. And then the more circle moment that I really feel at the core of this conversation is I truly believe that the only way for us to feel safe is to be the truth of who we are. And so if I speak the truth of who I am, I feel safe in the unknown. If I operate from the frequency of truth, I feel safe in the unknown. It's when I don't that I feel so unsafe, because it's like, okay, I tried to control this. I tried to, even if it's not like, ooh, I'm manipulating this from like that energy. It's like when we say things to energetically manipulate a situation, when we perform in order for people to buy, when I show up with this voice and this bubbly face, when I'm actually feeling something different, that's a manipulation of energetics. And so I can't feel safe in what's going on around me if I know I've not been in this energy where I'm just like being the truth of who I am. And so the more you, and this is where it's the building the muscle, but it's also like what comes first. It's like, be the truth, be so unapologetic. Like the words come through you, don't dilute them, don't soften them, don't, say it in a different way so that it's easier for people, or change it so that people buy from you, whatever it is. Be the truth of who you are, and you're ultimately going to feel safe with yourself.
So good. What frequency does truth hold for you? Like, what do you feel? Like,
I mean, truth for me is the frequency of God, is the frequency of trust, faith, knowing it. It's like, I feel like I can't even describe it, because it just feels like it just feels like it. Yeah. It just feels like undeniable. And the thing about truth is that that's what it is for me. So it's like my undeniable truth. But one of the biggest things that's allowed me to navigate, experiences that we just talked about that are like hard, and when your human wants to come in and take over, is I really remind myself that we are here having a human experience within our soul journey. And that, while that's true for me, that's true for everyone. And so it's allowing other people to have their human experiences and their soul journey, and really allowing multiple truths to coexist. It's like, I don't need my truth and your truth to line up. Like, we could be having this conversation and I could say something, you're like, Jack, I don't believe that's true. And still, through me speaking my truth, you're finding your truth. And I think that's really powerful. And I think that's healthy. Like, I don't want everyone to just be like, oh, like Jack spoke this, and so it must be true. Like, feel the resonance of truth or untruth within yourself, and then choose in alignment with that.
It's so good, especially what we've navigated the last few years, as a global collective. It's like, yeah, stand in your truth, and trying to convince someone else is just not the goal. It's you being deeply convicted in your own truth.
Yeah. And then that's when you don't feel safe with yourself. So see how this all comes together. It's like, if I'm trying to convince you, of course I'm not going to feel safe, because now I'm entering rooms and conversations that are not even the correct spaces for me.
This is so good. Share with us a little bit about feminine energetics. So I just want to kind of lay the foundation for this question. A lot of the women listening to this show have been operating in their masculine. So they're successful, they built the thing, they have the accolades, their external is on point. It's pristine. But what they're beginning to feel is the disconnect from within, from source, from their inner knowing, their truth. And so the women that I connect with have been so in their masculine that their feminine is completely foreign. And the first thing that we look at is, what is the definition of your feminine energy? We all hold both feminine and masculine energies. So I would love for you to share with us your perspective on masculine, feminine, and how you are able to flow between both. Because when I see you operating your business, your brand, you have a huge business, you have your books coming out, your family, there is so much flow. And even our Voxer conversations, it's really what feels good. And that plus your truth leads the doing, leads the action. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about that. And was there a moment where you were more in your masculine and then found your feminine?
Yeah, there's definitely moments where I was more in my masculine. And one of the biggest things that I think why this conversation tends to be like so nuanced and so many different, ways is we can be like, oh, I've been in my masculine and that's bad, or I shouldn't be, and I need to bring more feminine in. and it's like, that's not it. And what I see a lot of women tend to do is they swing the pendulum. So it's like,
Yes.
masculine, masculine, masculine. Let's let go of everything masculine. Masculine is bad, like the structure, like, and let's just swing so far to the feminine. And the feminine feels like, lean back and just receiving. And then there's that doesn't like feel good. And for me, it's like, let's not swing the pendulum. Like you said, like, let's honor that we have both, and let's honor that I'm someone who's like really allergic to like systems and routines. Like my kids have been like unschooled and wild schooling and nature schooling and art schooling and spirit schooling. I'm not a person who is like routine based. But when I operated that way in my business, it actually didn't serve me, because it felt like I was in all this flow, but then like things like had no landing place. Like it was just like, oh yeah, as long as I was like there kind of directing the flow, it worked. But then I started to really recognize like having support, having structure in my business is actually what allows my feminine to like dance and flow, and that for me to be in ease and trust and be able to show up in my power and lead, and then also lean back and receive. And so for me, the feminine is very much is the flow, is following your intuition, is faith, is trust, is receiving, and also like knowing that you're being held at the same time. So you're being held, like it's in God's hands. You're being provided for. A lot of my work is talking about God and money, and my core offering is called Employed by God. And it's really like when you are willing to operate in this way, in the faith and the trust, that like, of course, you're just going to magnify everything and amplify everything, and God's going to sign the paychecks, but it's all connected to you not trying to fight against who you are. And I do believe this like pendulum swing is oftentimes trying to fight against who we are. And so it's like, I need to bring in more masculine, or I need to bring in more feminine, when it's like, no, you really just need to be like who you are and do what you feel called to do. And I really strongly believe, like, as divine beings, like, we're natural receivers and we're natural givers and we're natural doers, which is, bringing in this feminine and masculine energy. But I used to think one was dependent on the other. And so it was like, if I give, then I can get. If I do this, then I can receive. And I looked at everything very intertwined. And now how I describe it is that we have 3 channels. We have our giving channel, which is over here on the left. We have our doing channel right here in the middle, and we have our receiving channel off to the right. But these are 3 separate channels that don't intertwine. And what this has allowed me to really do in this context is like, I give because, again, it's my divine nature as women, as leaders. Like, we're here to give, and I give with sharing my truth, and I give. Sometimes I do free offerings, and I give, we're giving wisdom within this podcast. Like, I give to my family. Like, we give because we give, and that doesn't need to be attached to our receiving. And then we're going to do. And I think a lot of people, when they feel like they're going into feminine energy, they get this fear, like, well, I'm not allowed to do, I'm not allowed to take action. Well, no, like, you're naturally like gonna feel an intuition, and you feel called to speak about this or start the podcast or do the thing. And so then it's do the thing, but do the thing freely, not attached to, if I do this and create this formula, if I do this, then I'll get that. And then this translates into like, I receive because I receive. I receive because I'm a child of nature, a child of God. My receiving channel becomes so free because it's not entangled with how I give or what I do. And so this just allows me to be freedom in my being. It's like, I give, I do, I receive, and all of it is connected to who I am.
So good. All of it dances together. Like, I just see the buckets dancing together. It's like a little bachata, It's like, it feels so good. And so for the women listening, start to, if this feels of resonance, start to play a little bit more with your feminine in terms of like, what is that intuition that's coming through you that you can then move into the doing? Or maybe you're so in the doing, what no longer feels in alignment for you, that you can step back and witness, be in sacred witness, and feel more of what doesn't feel aligned. And then you get to pivot and shift. And so it's like, again, this dance of moving through. And for me, like, I'm a doer. I love doing, but I will no longer, like, my self-devotion is, I will no longer do to perform, do to get, Absolutely not. I do from activation, from passion, from excitement. And then that doing yields results so much more powerful than any previous doing when I was solely stuck in my masculine and did not have awareness of this conversation.
And that's exactly it, right? So then it's like, of course you're going to do, because you're a passionate woman. You've got like stuff to do in the world. You've got a mission. You've got a voice. Like, and I think that people have this like fear if they bring in the feminine that they're going to stop doing. And it's like that really isn't it. But then it's like you're operating from such alignment, and then you invite in ease and overflow, and you start to hear your intuition more. Because the thing is, where I see most women, you know, especially when you've been operating in like the strategy and the masculine, they've cut off that intuition. It's like, but how do I even like know? And we cut off our intuition when we try to make sense of everything. Mm-hmm. And so when we go to the mind to try to analyze the intuitive nudge or that instinct, and we want everything to make sense. But the thing is when we're making sense of everything, well, then we're contracting the field, because then you're only available to receive what you can figure out in your mind. And so you're asking for the quantum leap, the magic, the miracle, but you're not really available for it, because if your mind cannot get behind it, it's just not able to come into existence for you.
So good. I witness around you a lot of nature. I know that you lived in Squamish, Costa Rica, Nasara. You're now in Ontario, but surrounded by nature. Is that your place to go and reconnect and tune in? Like, is this where you create spaciousness for yourself?
Yeah, like water is definitely it for me, like floating in water, being around water, walking by the water, like you can't see, but right behind these trees, like is a huge body of water. So being close to water, and also, I mean, like the trees, the woods, like I shared, like a lot of my book was written like sitting out in the woods when I was in Canada. In Costa Rica, was like out in the jungle, and everything from like being in nature, hearing nature, just like viewing nature, sitting in nature is definitely where I feel like so much comes through for me. And so it was at the beginning for me when I was in more doing energy, it looked like, okay, being inside behind a computer, and it's like, go sit outside instead of creating on the computer, like write in a notebook, like be out by water, like be in nature, be by yourself. And sometimes it does turn into like doing and creation. And sometimes it's like just me by myself, but it is often like it's oftentimes when I'm communicating with clients, it's like I just end up sending them voice notes when I'm out walking in the woods, because it's like so much is just coming through that I'm like, I want to share this with you.
Oh, and nature, like, and that's where I connect to. That's where I create spaciousness. And nature is so prosperous and abundant. And just because, you know, there's no proving. And I want to finish off the conversation because you sent me such a powerful voice note on Voxer. Because I said to you, Jack, I'm kind of freaking out, but I think I'm going to go for a raise. I'm going to start raising from investors for Maya Pickleball. What do you think? And what did you respond to me? Because it was so powerful and it landed so deeply. And I was like, this is my truth. I'm taking this as my truth.
Okay, so this is interesting because I'm like, you might have to tell us what I responded to, because how I really work is like, when I hear your voice in that message, like I just get this like sense, I tune into your energy, and it's like this, but if somebody else asks me that same question, I may respond with a different answer, because like what feels like connected to their energy field at the time. It was
so channeled. And basically you said, Anna, abso-fucking-lutely, because I've witnessed you work hard and prove yourself through the doing for decades. And this feels like ease. And this is a fuck yes, because you are in this energy of receivership now. This is your next chapter, is the receivership.
Yeah. Okay. As you said that, I fully got the goosebumps and full remembering, because like that was it for me. It's like, no, now you are being called upon to receive and to be supported and to let it to be effortless. And it's like, we know how powerful you are and how strong you are. And like, Anna, you can go out and like fucking do this and do this on your own. Check the box. You've done this a million times. And the calling that I felt for you is like, and have you let yourself like really fully be supported and really allowed it to come in through this way, and allow people to be like, yes, I'm so on board with your vision. And that is oftentimes what I feel for women too. It's like, you've had that experience. So for the women who have grown the massive businesses through like the scaling and the strategy and the masculine energy, like check that off your soul to-do list. Like your soul's already had that experience. Your soul wants a different experience. So if your soul hasn't had the experience of ease and abundance and overflow, well, that's the thing that you can give your soul to allow your soul to grow and evolve and expand, because it's a new experience.
Oh, and when you said that, like I have chills right now. Like I was like, yes, this feels so good. And yet that's an edge for me, right? Like being in this receivership has been my work over the last 3 years. And when we talk about the unknown and the uncertainty, like, yeah, I can make shit happen and I can do it, but it's like, this has been my edge. And so for you to send me that, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what feels.
And you have the goosebumps now, but you did send me a picture that day and you were like, it is like, I'm out in the golf cart. It is blistering hot. And you're like, and I have the goosebumps. So true. Those are like, I often find it's like when you really hear truth, oftentimes you get goosebumps or you cry. Like I call these like the truth tears. And oftentimes people come into work with me and they're in this like strong, independent woman energy. And they're like, and why do I just want to like cry when I get in your energy field? And it's like, because you know that this is a field of truth. Like you're speaking truth, I'm speaking truth. And it's just like, again, that full safety, that full permission to be.
So good. You do such powerful work in the world. Is there anything that I missed that you'd love to share before we move into some rapid fire?
Honestly, like, I feel like, remember what I said at the beginning? It was like, once you put that mic in front of me, it's hard to put it down. And no, I think we went in so many avenues, and I really like feel for everyone listening. Like I really think it's been a full circle conversation. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your truth, and permission granted to everyone that all of the magic, all the miracles, all of your prayers are on the other side of you standing in your truth and speaking your truth and leading from this energetic frequency. So thank you, Jaclyn, for that.
I lied. I do have one more thing, as you said.
Of course you did.
Because as you said, like, and the prayers and what lies on the other side, I also like really want women to know, and as you're listening, like that intuition you feel, whatever you feel called to next, like it is literally the answer to someone else's prayer. Like someone is praying for you right now, and they might not know it's specifically you, but the medicine you have inside of you, the wisdom you have inside of you, you speaking that truth, you speaking that wisdom unapologetically without diluting it, you're literally going to be the answer to someone else's prayer.
So good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All right, my love.
Rapid fire. What's the rapid fire?
Rapid fire. Okay. One belief that changed absolutely everything for you.
God's from within me.
Someone you
shifted like power outside to inside.
Oh, so good. Someone you'd love to have brunch with.
Oh, gosh. Someone I'd love, like literally nothing's coming to me right now. I don't know.
And that's amazing too. What does the word worthy mean to you, and what frequency does it hold for you?
It holds the frequency of truth and worthy because you are. Like nothing added, nothing taken away. Just like you are worthy as a divine being, as a child of God.
Yes. Do you play pickleball?
I do like pickleball. I don't play it enough, I don't think, but I really like to play it with my family, and especially like and I'll probably play it more because as we've moved across the country, I've got like my older nieces and nephews and everything. And when we get together, we do love to go play pickleball.
I love that.
I'm competitive like you. So of course I do.
I love that. I'm adding you to my list of pickleball gals as we launch this brand, and whenever it launches, I'm trusting in the timeline.
Okay, well, you will smoke me, but we'll have a pickleball game sometime
We'll
too.
have so much fun. And finally, what does prosperity mean to you?
Like prosperity, like just as you say the word, it's like prosperity is available. Like prosperity is everywhere. Like you are designed to be prosperous. I'm designed to be prosperous. Like there is no like withholding energy here. And it's like, it's lean in because it exists all around you.
Oh, So good. Where can everyone find you? And is there anything specific that you'd love to share with us? Tell us where we can pick up the book, when your next book is launching. Give us all the details.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, because there's like, this is where it's like, there's the book and there's the upcoming book. And I mean, my book's available pretty much anywhere. Spiritual Smackdown, it's like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Indigo. My second book, and this is exciting because it's not going to be released till next October, but I do have a wait list that I'll share the link with you, because for anyone who feels called to the second book, if you're on the wait list, you can actually get it 3 months before it's available in bookstores, available before it goes public. So we're going to have like a little behind the scenes of what's going on in the book before it actually really hits bookshelves. And then really finding me is like Instagram and my podcast, The Jaclyn Shaw Show.
Amazing. Jaclyn, thank you so much here for your truth and for being with us today. Love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on today's episode of the Prosperity Playground podcast. If this conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts so you never miss your weekly activation. If you enjoyed the conversation, please rate and review. Your feedback helps us reach more souls just like you who are ready to calibrate to their most prosperous life. Know someone who needs this frequency boost? Share the episode to Instagram and tag me at _Anna Lozano so we can grow our energetically aligned community together. And please remember, true prosperity is about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth. Start today. I'm Anna Lozano, and this is the Prosperity Playground. See you on the next activation.